Go ahead.
My name is Emery Lundquist. I look Swedish. I have a Swedish last name, so everybody called me Swede. I enlisted in the United States Navy at 18 years old. My first duty station was the United States ship Monahan, a destroyer that was in Pearl Harbor. December the 7th, 1941, the Japanese attacked us. I was eating breakfast and I was going to change clothes because we were off duty. We were getting ready to go to the beach at Waikiki. When I got to my compartment, I took my clothes off, and while I was changing clothes, I heard the machine guns. And that was very strange. I never heard that in this harbor before. I didn't know what it was, so I didn't have a shirt on, no shoes. I had my pants on. I took my shoes and ran up the ladder, and when I did that, I heard some more machine guns. And I ran towards my battle station, which is a 5-inch gun pointer, and while I was halfway to the battle station, the captain of the ship came out and wanted to know what was going on. And by that time I'd already seen a red ball, and that's Japanese. And I ran to my station and got up as a pointer on gun 2, and we realized then that machine gun was strafed by a Japanese fighter at one of the cruisers. When I got up to the station, everybody was there, and we looked at our ammunition. And when you come in port, you put your live ammunition below the magazines. But we had 2 projectiles there. One was a star shell, and one was a dummy projectile. It's practice. We'd been out to practice, so we still had that in there. So I needed 2 powder cans. So while I was waiting for the powder cans to come up so we could shoot the projectiles, there were 3 Japanese torpedo planes that were about 20 feet above the water, coming from the north side from the mountains. And they were headed right for us, 3 of them. And when they got about so far, they turned and made about a 30-degree turn. And when they did that, I could see the pilot of the outer plane. Now these were torpedo planes. When they made that turn, I could see the cockpit and the pilot and his green cap. Now what they were doing is they saw a larger ship, and that was the USS Utah, a training ship for machine gunners. So when this was going on, we're getting ready to go out of the channel. We have the ship ready to go, we're underway, and then we get a notice that there's a submarine in the harbor. So the ship was swung around then, and we fired. By the time when we first saw it, through my gun sight, I could see the turret. The submarines was sticking out. You could see the and so we took. When I could see that, we got sighted in my gun sight and had orders to pull the trigger. So we fired the dummy ammunition in there, and then we also had that star shell, and we fired it twice again, and the star shell blew up and set fire to the barge that was there. Well, we were headed toward the sub, and then the word was passed that we were going to ram it. The guns we couldn't de-elevate anymore, so they said stand by for ramming. So when we rammed the sub, and it was so small that we turned it under us, and we could hear it scraping on the bottom of our ship. So well, how it missed our propellers is beyond me. So then we got that happened, and then we swung around the ship around, and then as we were forward, we dropped 2 depth charges, and the men back there saw the bow of the ship up straight, but we sank it. Then we're going out. Now we're going out the harbor, and we're looking around. The Arizona had already been hit. We could see planes after planes, fighter planes, torpedo planes, high altitude bombers. They were at their peak about this time. And while we were going out, we looked down the channel where the battleships and cruisers were anchored, and the Oklahoma had already been hit with 3 torpedoes, and they were just turning over. So we saw it turn over on its side. Now we're out of the harbor, and we're seeing a lot of smoke, but before we got out, it looked like midnight. There was so many ships afire. We still didn't know the Arizona and the battleships were so badly damaged, because we were one of the first ones out, and when it was all over with, we had about 9 ships that were only available, that were seaworthy, that came out of the harbor, and our orders were to look for the Japs. So we headed west and went out searching for 2 days, and then they ordered us to come back to the harbor. We didn't see or contact any subs or anything. But while we were going out, we saw the second wave coming in from quite a distance, too far for us. But we went out and we came back 2 days later, and when we came into the harbor was when we realized how much damage was done. We came by the Oklahoma, and there were men trapped inside, but they were using a hammer to let people know on the outside that they were inside the Utah, the Oklahoma. So as we're going in the harbor, we saw the men coming out of the Oklahoma after they'd put a hole in it, so that some of them can come out. Then we passed by the West Virginia. We passed by all these battleships that were still there, and then passed by the Arizona. In the meantime, while we're doing this, there's bodies floating all over the place. And the Medic Corps had a motor launch boat with a 150-foot rope on the end of it, back of the motor launch. And what they would do is they'd sight a body, go to it, and throw a half hitch on it, and then go to the next body, which might be 10 feet away. And before it was over, that one motor launch was dragging at least 30 bodies. What they would do is they would drag those bodies to the pier, and then the hospital people would take care of that. So we came in and anchored, and waited orders for future involvement.
It was a bad day.
A bad day. So
we can take a break there.
Okay.
This is the perfect.
Except,
you know what?
Is it really?